Hello and welcome. It's Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button and a bell below if you would like to help support this channel by subscribing. And when you hit the bell, you'll also be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such, I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of this land. So this video, I just want to talk a little bit about Saturn going retrograde. It will be doing or going tomorrow. So this is the 17th of June, and it will be retrograde until the 4th of November this year. And it's currently at 7 degrees 12 minutes of Pisces, so it'll be retrograding back to 0 degrees of Pisces during this transit. So Saturn itself is known as Lord of Karma, and when planets go into a retrograde, this sort of reverse motion, they're not going reverse, it's just how they are seen from where we are on the planet. When we look up at them, they look like they're going backwards, but they are not. But retrograde planets is usually a time to reflect, review, revision, or the sort of R or RE rewords. So the retrograde motion at this time is when karma gets sorted out, whether or not you believe in karma or not, sort of irrelevant. So it's looking at the consequences of our actions, and if you believe in past lives, even the ones that we've carried over from a previous life. So Saturn is in relation to being a Lord of Karma, in relation to karma coming up, asking us to address or look at karmic consequences. And retrograde is also about karma, so we're sort of this double dose of looking at the cause and effect of our actions, either in this life or previous lives, and also the flow on effect. So most people sort of focus on the negative deeds of karma in the past and how they sort of reflect in this life. So it could be telling us a lesson, but there's also positive deeds or achievements in previous lives where in this life it's actually acting as sort of a reward or gift as our soul journeys through this incarnation. So with that in mind, even though there's going to be this double whammy in relation to karma, a lot of the astrologers that I've been following have sort of indicated that it's not necessarily going to be all that difficult, all that challenging, due to it being sextile. So this is a very positive angle to the planet Jupiter, indicating that it's actually the right time for making moves, for entering into new adventures, and also there is a likelihood of general success if you are engaging or wanting to engage in enterprises, which isn't generally advisable when planets are in retrograde. So looking at Saturn itself, it goes retrograde probably every 12 months. As I said, it lasts for about 4.5 months. Being Lord of Karma and the retrograde motion, it's going through, it's sort of a time when karma is addressed. As I said, when we're going to be accountable for our actions. Now, with Saturn itself also being closely bound to the concept of time, especially the whole area where the past, the present, future all seem to blur into one. During its retrograde transit, Saturn therefore would very possibly enable karmic results based on how responsible we have been in a previous life to actually arise in this time. And also transiting Saturn retrograde could also be a time of limitation, restriction, anxiety, and fear. So it's almost a good time to sort of do a little bit of restocking, of reevaluation of where you are, especially if emotions are beginning to rise up to the surface. In more recent months, since Saturn has been entering this sort of retrograde zone, which is usually a couple of months out before it actually slowing down before it actually goes retrograde, you may have even found yourself having to deal with issues involving your responsibilities in relation to, say, if there's people who are dependent on you, or your work, or your career. So it's really having to adult in various situations where you may not have always stepped up to the mark in the past. So with Saturn, this is a bit of a, excuse me, taskmaster, reminding us of our responsibilities. And it's also reminding us how important it is to take the extra time needed to take stock and to ensure that everything is in order before we continue on with the next project. Especially, as I said right at the beginning, with Jupiter, it's a great time to sort of go into enterprises, but it's sort of making sure that everything is lined up, that you've looked at all the possibilities first, so that you are prepared to actually do the work. Because Saturn's all about doing the work. You may also find yourself being tested to ensure that you already, or you are actually at a position where you can take on that additional responsibilities. And these lessons might be ones that you may have to learn the hard way, but they are actually very invaluable as you progress through life. Then on the other hand, it could be that the negative aspect of Saturn, or the not so aligned aspect of Saturn, or the Saturn behavior, such as sadness or being antisocial, may have actually gotten out of control over the last couple of months, and you're really beginning to notice it. And in this case, during the Saturn retrograde, opportunities will be presented to you to sort of recognize and actually admit that problem. So if you're really withdrawn back into your shell, ready to sort of distance yourself from society, there might be opportunities opening up where you can start refreshing those bonds as well. And things may have gotten out of control due to some sort of drastic event or intervention that has actually occurred in your life that has really sort of shaken you. And as such, there may actually be another one coming through that will sort of shake you out of your depression or your feelings of isolation. So there might be the need where we have to then engage more positively with people. So during this time, or should I say by the time when Saturn stations direct, as I said, that will be in early November, we should have come to terms with all the relevant issues, especially from our past, and are ready to move into the next phase of our life. With a lot more focus, with a lot more motivation to lead, more productive, to achieve things, and also to recognize the work that we're having to undertake to progress forward. So if you have your natal chart, birth chart, because Saturn's going retrograde in Pisces, it's good to sort of look at what house Pisces is in your chart, also the placement of Saturn in your chart, because these areas could actually offer clues as to possible problems relating to, say, self-discipline, or where you have been avoiding responsibility in past life that you are needing to address in this life. So, for example, you may have neglected to look after your loved ones, or it might have occurred due to illness or immaturity or disrespect, or there might be a failure of actually earning a living to, say, support your parents, or you may have even abandoned your partner or children. So as a result, there may be some lessons or extra effort required in this life to sort of repay that karmic debt, ensuring that you have actually learnt those lessons of responsibility, especially in relation to people who are dependent on you. And once we've learned those lessons, this also ensures that we do not have to go through similar difficult cycles in another incarnation. So just keep in mind that Saturn is about work, it's about being disciplined, it's about being responsible, it's stable, it's respectful, it's reliable, sort of drudgery. But it's very neat because it all sets the foundations upon which we can build things on. However, when it goes into retrograde, this could also indicate sadness, depression, loneliness, tiredness, even the lack of motivation to actually achieve these things. Other things that could surface, sort of like a disrespect to your parents or any figures of authority, and the feeling that they may be holding you back, or you've been holding back these sort of angst against them. So it's a good time to sort of look at whatever is stunting your productiveness, because this is what Saturn during its retrograde phase will be focusing on. This could very well be an ongoing problem that's been hindering success over many previous incarnations. It could be certain events or relationships that need to be reinforced or that are going to surface, so you have to address them during this retrograde phase in order to master them. As I said right at the beginning, it's actually sextile Jupiter. So things aren't all that bad. When Saturn retrograde is sextile Jupiter, Jupiter is the planet of expansion and growth. And even if this expansion is something somewhat cautious, because Saturn likes everything sort of laid out and in order, it also offers a very optimistic yet realistic outlook. It's all about good timing, Saturn connection with time, and making sound judgments in order to ensure that the right choice is being made at the right time. So again, there is patience and perseverance and developing a really strong work ethic. So this is all Saturn aspects that will help you to reach a significant long-term goal in that expansion energy of Jupiter. Jupiter will also bring in opportunities, so maybe for promotion or again, more responsibility at work that may arise, sort of the Saturn aspect to it. There could be financial stability through investments or business deals. It's also an excellent time for wealth creation through, say, real estate, blue chip stocks, saving plans, self-employment. Or you may find having to work longer hours, getting paid overtime. Again, that is Saturn's influence in relation to establishing really strong work ethics. So with Jupiter being about personal growth, it's about wisdom, it's about wealth and happiness. All of this could also be tying in with new relationships, not necessarily just intimate relationships, but relationships with other people, work colleagues, etc. There could be an opportunity for travel, even education. So it may not be a exciting time astrologically, but there will be lasting achievements that will bring a degree of satisfaction and contentment if these are all done in relation to this period when Saturn is in retrograde, especially right at the beginning or the next few days when it is actually in sextile with Jupiter. So that sort of also gives a little bit of a slant in relation to the new moon that we have here in Adelaide. I think it's at 2:07 p.m. Top of my head, I have to check, on the 18th. So that's Sunday the 18th. It could be on Saturday, depending on where you are in the world. So that sort of will be influencing those areas in your chart as well. So I hope this has been of interest. Said there might be stuff from the past coming up in relation to responsibility, etc. Sort of like equaling, leveling out any karmic debts. But it's also a good time for looking at our work opportunities, our work ethics, and areas in that area. So I hope you are well. Blessings.